The unwanted guest, the transport shuttle, shuddered as it docked with the Cosmic Institute of Advanced Sciences. And Jace Meridian pressed his face against the viewport, watching the massive crystalline structure rotate slowly against the starfield. For 18 years, he dreamed of this moment, the first human ever accepted into the galaxy's most prestigious academy. Now, stepping into the airlock, he wondered if it had been a mistake. The orientation hall buzzed with conversations in dozens of languages, most beyond human hearing range. Jace's enhanced translator struggled to keep up as he walked between clusters of beings that defied imagination. Towering insectoids with chitinous armor discussed quantum mathematics. Wow. Their antennae sparked with bioluminescent equations. Gaseous entities contained within energy fields debated philosophy through harmonic frequencies that made his teeth ache. Look what crawled out of the galactic backwater. A voice sneered behind him. Jace turned to find a being that resembled living metal, its surface rippling with data streams. The primitive made it after all. Kethlon, be civil, came a melodious voice that seemed to emanate from everywhere at once. The crowd parted, revealing a figure that made Jace's breath catch. She appeared humanoid but ethereal, her translucent skin shimmering with inner light, silver hair floating as if underwater. Her eyes held the depth of nebulae. I am Nyxara of the Ethereal Collective. You must be the human. Jace fumbled with his words. Jace Meridian, from Earth. Nyxara tilted her head, studying him with curiosity rather than the contempt he'd grown accustomed to. Fascinating. Your mental emanations are so contained, like a fortress. Mental what now? Jace asked, earning snickers from nearby students. She means you're telepathically dead, Kethlon interjected, his metallic form shifting colors to express amusement. No neural link capabilities, no biotech integration, no quantum consciousness expansion. How do you even think with such limitations? Heat rose in Jace's cheeks, but before he could respond, Nyxara raised a graceful hand. Perhaps what you call limitation, others might call ... independence. Her gaze lingered on him, and Jace felt something flutter in his chest that had nothing to do with the Academy's artificial gravity. The orientation ceremony began with Professor Quilduth, an ancient cephalopod whose tentacles moved in hypnotic patterns as he spoke. Welcome, young minds, to the forge where intellects are honed into weapons against chaos. Here, you will transcend the boundaries of your species' evolution. As the professor continued, Jace noticed Nyxara watching him rather than the presentation. When their eyes met, she didn't look away, and a slight smile played at her lips. After the ceremony, she approached him. Walk with me, she said, not really asking. They moved through corridors lined with holographic star maps and quantum equation displays. The others fear what they don't understand about your species. But fear often masks fascination. And which are you feeling? Jace asked. Nyxara stopped. Beside a window overlooking the Academy's central courtyard, where students from 100 worlds mingled. Oath, she admitted, your mind is a mystery to me. In my culture, thoughts flow freely between individuals. But you're like a locked room full of secrets. Their reflection overlapped in the transparisteel, human and ethereal side by side. Maybe some secrets are worth keeping, Jace said softly. Maybe some are worth sharing, she replied, her voice barely a whisper. Hearts in zero gravity. 3 weeks into the term, Jace had learned to navigate both the Academy's labyrinthine corridors and its social hierarchies. His grades in theoretical xenobiology and galactic law hovered near failure, but his tactical simulation scores broke Academy records. It was this contradiction that drew Nyxara to seek him out in the observation deck late one evening. You're avoiding quantum mechanics class, she said, settling beside him on the curved bench that overlooked the Academy's exterior. Beyond the transparent dome, Distant galaxies wheeled slowly in their eternal dance. Hard to avoid something. That makes no sense, Jace replied, not taking his eyes off the stars. Professor Kethmer keeps talking about probability clouds and consciousness-collapsed wave functions. Where I come from, things are either there or they're not. Nixara laughed. A sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. That's exactly why you excel at tactical scenarios. You see solutions where we see infinite possibilities. She moved closer, her ethereal warmth making the air shimmer. Let me show you. She placed her hand over his, and Jace felt a tingling. Sensation, not unpleasant. I can't read your thoughts, she explained, but I can share concepts directly. May I? When he nodded, colors exploded behind his eyelids, not images, but pure understanding flowing between them. For a moment, quantum mechanics made perfect sense, like a language he'd always known but forgotten. When the connection ended, he was breathless. That was ... he began. Intimate, she finished, her luminous eyes reflecting starlight. My people don't share consciousness lightly. The space between them seemed to shrink, and Jace found himself studying the delicate patterns of light that played across her skin. Why me? Why help the primitive human? Because you're not primitive, she whispered, leaning closer. You're something else entirely. Something we've forgotten how to be. Their lips met, and Jace discovered that kissing an ethereal being was like touching liquid starlight. Her form became more solid under his touch, as if his presence anchored her to the physical realm. They broke apart, both breathing hard. This is complicated, Nixara said, though she didn't pull away. Good thing I like complications, Jace replied, drawing her closer. Their second kiss lasted longer, deeper, until the sound of approaching footsteps forced them apart. Kethalen's metallic form appeared in the doorway, his surface patterns shifting to express disgust. How predictable, he sneered. The exotic primitive seduces the naive ethereal. I suppose you find his barbaric mating rituals refreshing. Nixara rose gracefully, her form brightening with anger. Careful, Kethalan. Your jealousy is showing. Jealousy? The biomechanical being's laugh was like grinding gears. I'm trying to save you from making a fool of yourself. He'll never be more than a curiosity here. Jace stood, his hands clenching, into fists an instinctive reaction that made Kethalen's optical sensors flare with amusement. See? Pure animal aggression. No higher reasoning. No evolved conflict resolution. Sometimes, Jace said carefully, the simple solution is the right one. For a moment, tension crackled between them like static electricity. Then Nixara stepped between them, her touch on Jace's arm both calming and possessive. We should go, she said softly. Tomorrow's combat simulation requires rest. As they walked away together, Jace caught Kethalan's parting words. Enjoy your pet while you can, Nixara. Reality has a way of intruding on fantasies. Later, outside her dormitory, Nixara pressed close to him in the shadows. Don't let him discourage you, she whispered against his ear. There's something about you, Jace Meridian. Something important. What do you mean? She was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. I've been having dreams, visions of darkness coming, and a figure standing against it. A figure who thinks like you do. Dreams can lie. Not ethereal dreams, she said, then kissed him once more before disappearing through her door, leaving him alone with the Shimk. Stars and a growing sense that his time at the academy was about to become far more complicated than academic rivalry. When logic fails, the first sign of trouble came during Professor Quildith's advanced tactical theory class. Mid-lecture, the ancient cephalopod's bioluminescent communication patches flickered and died. His tentacles writhed in distress as his neural implants sparked and went dark. Emergency protocols active, the Academy's artificial intelligence announced, its usually smooth voice now choppy and distorted. All students report to designated safe zones immediately. Chaos erupted as students discovered their enhanced abilities. Failing one by one, Cathalon's data streams sputtered and vanished, leaving him stumbling blindly. The gaseous entities flickered, their containment fields destabilizing. Nixara's ethereal glow dimmed as her telepathic connection severed. Only Jace remained unaffected, watching in bewilderment as the galaxy's brightest minds were reduced to confused, frightened beings. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows through. Corridors filled with aliens experiencing biological panic for the first time in their lives. "What's happening?" Nixara gasped, clutching his arm. Her usual grace was gone, replaced by very human-like vulnerability. "I don't know," Jace admitted, "but I'm starting to think that's an advantage." They made their way to the central hub, where Academy Commander Admiral Torkun, a massive, crystalline being, stood before a crowd of terrified students. His usual rainbow patterns had faded to dull gray. "A digital plague has infiltrated our systems," he announced, his voice no longer the resonant bass that commanded respect. "It targets bioneural interfaces, telepathic networks, and quantum consciousness links. Our most advanced technologies have become vulnerabilities." Whispers of panic rippled through the crowd. These beings had evolved beyond basic survival instincts, their entire civilization built on technological integration. Without it, they were lost. "Sir?" Jace called out, his voice cutting through the murmur. "What about analog systems? Manual overrides?" The Admiral's crystalline structure shifted toward him. "Human meridian. Your species primitive. Approach to technology may indeed be relevant here." Cathalon's voice crackled with static. "You would trust our survival to the barbarian?" "The barbarian," Professor Quildith interjected, his tentacles moving in slow, deliberate patterns without their usual bioluminescent enhancement, appears to be the only one among us still thinking clearly. Nixara squeezed Jace's hand. Even without her telepathic abilities, she seemed to understand what he was thinking. "You have a plan." "Maybe," Jace said, studying the darkened corridor systems. "But it means doing things the human way. No elegant solutions, no quantum leaps of logic, just basic problem solving." He turned to address the crowd. "On Earth, we have a saying, when high-tech fails, go low-tech. We need to map the Academy manually, find the plague's source, and shut it down the old-fashioned way." "Impossible," scoffed a spidery being from the Arachnid Collective. "The Academy spans 17 dimensions, without quantum navigation." "Then we search one room at a time," Jace interrupted. "We use our eyes, our hands, our basic senses. We think like hunters, not philosophers." Admiral Torkon's gray form pulsed once. "Explain." Jace looked around the room, seeing beings who had forgotten what it meant to be mortal, fallible, physical. Every plague has a source. Every system has a weakness. We find both using instinct and observation tools that don't require upgrades or neural interfaces. He felt Nixara's admiration, even without their mental connection, saw respect growing in Professor Quildith's ancient eyes. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Jace felt like he belonged. "Who's with me?" he asked. The silence stretched for heartbeats. Then Nixara stepped forward. "I am." Surprisingly, Cathalyn's mechanical voice joined them. "If the primitive has a plan, I suppose we're desperate enough to try it." Others began volunteering, not many, but enough. As they organized into search teams, Jace couldn't shake the feeling that this plague wasn't random. Something about its precision, its targeting of higher cognitive functions, felt almost intentional, almost like someone wanted to see what happened when the galaxy's most evolved beings were reduced to their most basic selves. The hunt begins leading. A team through the Academy's darkened maintenance tunnels. Jace felt more alive than he had since arriving. Without artificial gravity generators. They moved in zero-G, using handholds and momentum basic physics that his team struggled with, but came naturally to him. Left here, he whispered, consulting a paper map he'd sketched from memory. Behind him, Nixara moved with surprising grace despite her lost ethereal abilities, while Kethalan's mechanical joints whirred with each movement. Their newest team member, Visima, a crystalline being, whose natural light had dimmed to barely visible, brought up the rear. "How do you know where we're going?" Vexima asked, her voice now oddly musical, without electronic enhancement. "Process of elimination," Jace replied, pausing at an intersection. "The plague hit communications first, then navigation, then individual biosystems. That's not random. It's following data pathways from a central source." They emerged into a vast chamber housing the Academy's quantum computing core. Normally, it would be alive with holographic displays and energy patterns. Now it sat dark and silent, except for a faint pulsing glow from deep within its crystalline matrix. "There," Jace pointed. "That's not Academy tech." As they moved closer, the alien device became visible, a writhing mass of organic circuitry grafted onto the quantum core like a parasite. Its surface pulsed with malevolent intelligence. "It's beautiful," Nixara whispered, then caught herself. "And terrifying." Jace studied the device, his mind working through possibilities. "It's not trying to destroy the Academy. It's studying us, learning how our technologies work." "To what end?" Kethalan demanded. Before Jace could answer, the device pulsed brighter, and security drones emerged from hidden alcoves. But these moved differently, with organic fluidity rather than programmed precision. The plague had adapted even the Academy's defenses. "Run," Jace ordered, but Nixara grabbed his arm. "Wait." Her eyes, now merely humanoid without their ethereal depth, held determination. "You said we need to think like hunters." "What does a hunter do when cornered?" Understanding flashed between them. "They don't run from the predator," Jace said slowly. "They become the predator." The drones circled closer, their weapons charging. In the old paradigm, the team would have relied on shields, quantum evasion, telepathic coordination. Now they had only instinct and trust. "Veximo, your crystal form can reflect energy," Jace called out. "Kethalan, your mechanical strength still works. Nix single quotes era ... "I know," she said, moving to his side. "I trust you." The battle was brief and brutal. Jace used every dirty fighting trick he'd learned on Earth, while his teammates discovered abilities they'd forgotten they possessed. When the last drone fell, they stood among the wreckage, breathing hard. "The device is still active," Kethalan observed. Jace approached it carefully, studying its organic patterns. "It's not just a plague," he realized. "It's a test. Someone wanted to see how we'd respond when stripped of our advantages." "Who would do such a thing?" Vexima asked, as if in answer. The device projected a hologram, grainy and distorted, but clearly showing a human face. Not just any human, but one Jace recognized from Earth's history files. "Impossible," he breathed. The figure in the hologram smiled coldly. "Hello, Jace. I've been waiting to meet Earth's first ambassador to the stars. We need to talk." Nixara moved closer to him, her hand finding his. "Who is that?" Jace stared at the face of Dr. Marcus Kane, the scientist who had designed Earth's first interstellar communication beacon, the same beacon that had led to humanity's invitation to join galactic civilization. The same Dr. Kane who had supposedly died in the beacon's destruction 30 years ago. "That," Jace said grimly, "is the man who opened the door between Earth and the galaxy. And apparently, He's been waiting on the other side. The Primitives' victory. The confrontation took place in the Academy's central spire, where Dr. Kane's hologram waited amid the twisted remains of the communication array. The plague device pulsed at the chamber's heart, its organic tendrils now spread throughout the Academy's infrastructure like a nervous system. 30 years, Kane's image said as Jace and his team entered. 30 years I've watched humanity stumble toward the stars, sending their children to play with beings who see them as amusing pets. You're supposed to be dead, Jace replied, his hand steady despite the enormity of the moment. Kane laughed bitterly. Dead to earth, perhaps. But the beacon explosion didn't destroy me. It translated me, converted my consciousness into pure information, and scattered it across the galactic network. I've been learning, Jace, studying our so-called allies. Around them, the Academy groaned as the plague spread deeper into its systems. Emergency power flickered, and Jace could hear distant sounds of structural failure. They don't respect us, Kane continued. They see humans as useful primitives, good for manual labor and crude problem-solving, but never as equals. So you decided to prove a point by nearly destroying their academy? Nixara stepped forward, her voice carrying newfound strength. I decided to show them what happens when their precious evolution fails them, Kane snapped. Look around you, the galaxy's brightest minds, reduced to helpless children the moment their toys stop working. Jace studied the plague device, understanding finally dawning. But that's not the real test, is it? You're not trying to hurt them. You're trying to see if humanity would step up when they needed us. Kane's smile was proud and sad. My brilliant successor. Yes, Jace, this was always about you. About proving that human instinct, human adaptability, human compassion could save what alien intellect could not. Cathalin's mechanical voice crackled with indignation. You've endangered thousands of lives for a philosophical experiment? I've saved thousands of worlds, Kane shot back. Because now they'll know. When the real threat comes, and it is coming, they'll turn to humanity not as a curiosity, but as partners. Jace approached the plague device, his mind racing through possibilities. The organic circuitry pulsed with Kane's consciousness, distributed through quantum pathways that defied conventional physics. But there was something else, something Kane hadn't anticipated. You're wrong about one thing, Jace said quietly. They already respect us. Some of them, anyway. He glanced at Nixara, whose ethereal beauty had been replaced by something deeper, real affection, real trust. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned. His hands found the device's central node, and immediately pain shot through his nervous system, as Kane's consciousness invaded his mind. But instead of fighting it, Jace did something entirely human. He embraced it, accepted the alien presence, and began to understand. You can't absorb me, boy. Kane's voice echoed in his head. I'm beyond human limitations now. Maybe, Jace replied, his voice calm despite the agony. But you're still human enough to love your species. And I'm betting that's stronger than your anger. For a moment that stretched into eternity, two human minds touched across impossible distances. Jace felt Kane's 30 years of isolation, his desperate need to protect humanity, his fear that they would forever remain second-class citizens in a galaxy of gods. Let me show you something, Jace whispered, and shared his memories Nixara's first smile, Professor Quildeth's respectful nod, even Cathalan's grudging admiration during their recent battle. Not conquest or dominance, but genuine connection. Khan's consciousness wavered, then began to withdraw from the Academy systems. Perhaps there's another way. The plague device powered down, its organic tendrils retracting. Throughout the Academy, lights flickered back to life, and the sound of restored systems hummed through the corridors. Admiral Torkon's voice echoed through the intercom, strong and clear once more. All systems restored. medical teams to all levels, and Cadet Meridian, please report to the command center. Later, as dawn broke through the Academy's great windows, Jace stood on the observation deck where this had all begun. Nyxara found him there, her ethereal glow restored, but somehow warmer, more human. "The Galactic Council is meeting in emergency session," she said, settling beside him. "They want to establish joint human-alien crisis response teams for every major world." Kane got what he wanted after all, Jace mused. "No," Nyxara corrected, taking his hand. "You got what you wanted. Respect earned honestly, not through manipulation or fear." Below them, students from across the galaxy moved through the corridors, but now many carried manual equipment alongside their quantum devices. And Jace noticed several groups practicing basic survival skills. "Think they'll remember this lesson?" he asked. Nyxara smiled, the expression achingly beautiful on her alien features. "I think they'll remember you. The human who saved them, not despite his primitive nature, but because of his evolved heart." She leaned against him, solid and warm and real. "Besides, I have it on good authority that Earth is about to become a very popular destination for graduate studies." As the stars wheeled overhead, Jace realized that sometimes the greatest victory wasn't proving you belonged, but helping others discover they needed you all along.